Welcome back, pipers and friends. This is the second day of the Spanish Peaks virtual piping retreat, and we are so glad that you're here and joining us for some good tunes and camaraderie. I have a really great reel for you today. I heard this tune actually played by Finn Moore and his wife Sarah Hoy. It was one of those cool online recordings that people were sharing at the beginning of the pandemic, and I went and listened to Finn's sets and just fell in love with this reel in the middle of one of his big blast tunes. And I came to find out that it is by the Scottish fiddler Simon Bradley. He plays with Llan de Cubel. If you don't know Llan de Cubel, please check them out. They are a fantastic Asturian band. And he's got lots of international flavor in his tunes. But this one is purely fun. It is syncopated, it is funky. It took me many listenings to catch this one by ear when I first started to learn it. So that's why I picked it for the advance today. It's a little bit tricky to learn by ear, but I'm hoping that we can guide through it beautifully and that this can be a tune to add to your repertoire. I kind of want a whole bunch of people to learn this one so we can all play it together sometime. So I'm going to play this tune a couple times around for you to get it in your ear, and then I'm going to give you a couple little hints about it. If you are an excellent listener, start trying to think about what key this tune is in as you're listening to it. Some of you will pick this up immediately. Others, look for hints, like where is my home note? Am I starting on A? Does that feel like a good place to land? Is D a good place to land? Am I omitting any notes of the scale? That can be a really good clue as to what key or modality we are playing in. All right, so here's Simon Bradley's Alone in the Castle. It's rollicking good fun, even with cold hands. It's starting to get chilly here in Asheville, North Carolina, and all the leaves are turning, and it's gorgeous. So I hope where you are, it's just as lovely. All right, you're listening, right? I'm gonna ask Tim, who I know is in the audience. Tim, what key is this in? Oh, did you only notice that there were 5 notes in the scale? You're right. So this tune is in a pentatonic. What does that mean? Pent 5. We are using 5 notes. And this is a special mode. You can place it kind of with any starting scale. But how you would build a pentatonic scale is to take, let's say, a major scale, like we don't quite have on our pipes, but you would omit the 4th note of the scale and the 7th note of the scale and get a pentatonic scale. It's very distinctive sounding. Let me play it for you so you can hear that mode. There are no Ds and no Fs in this tune. So D would have been the 4th note of our A scale, and G would have been the 7th note. Since those were omitted, that means we are solidly in this pentatonic landscape. We are playing only those 5 notes. So that's a helpful thing, I think, to know when you're trying to learn a tune by ear, or to try to figure out as you're listening to it, to just know, like, okay, I don't need to play those notes. So those are not places you're going to go when you're trying to internalize it and then get your hands wrapped around it on the chanter. So I would love to go through this with you guys just phrase by phrase. I'm going to pick slightly chunkier phrases than I did for my beginner intermediate video on Saturday. So I'm thinking, let's try to absorb a little bit more of this all at once and do 2 measure phrases. This is a 4/4 reel, so we're going to do it in 2 measure chunks. And I'm doing 2 measures in a way to catch the syncopation for us. That is a little meaty middle component of all of these phrases at the beginning of the first part, and I think it's really hard to catch it if you try to do smaller chunks and then try to fit the syncopation in later. So the syncopation happens because we have a tied note over to a strong beat, and then we move again on the and of the beat. So not on the beat 1, but on the and of 1. It's good fun. So we'll break it down nice and slow. I'm going to loop it. Join in when you're ready. Try singing it if you feel so inclined to try to internalize the melody before you try it out on your pipes. 1 and 2. Great, I hope that's going well for you. I should note that there is a strong outline in this tune also of the notes of the A arpeggio. Arpeggio is the fancy name for broken chord. So it would be the notes that you'd play, like if you're playing guitar or piano and you play numerous notes at once to create a beautiful sonority. We can kind of do that with our drones, but melody-wise, only 1 note at a time. So we play those notes 1 at a time, and for this A pentatonic, or if it were A major, A mixolydian, we would play A, C, E, and high A as the notes of the arpeggio. Those are really common in here. So that first phrase uses those notes plus 1 F. Let me play it for you one more time. Listen for where that F comes in. It's the only note that's not part of A, C, E, A. Here I go. Listen for the F. Cool. So we're going to link this phrase now into the second phrase. It begins in the same way and then ends with a slightly different ending. Where we introduce the second new note, besides A, C, E, and F, we get a B at the end of this phrase. I'm starting from the top, first 2 phrases, making a loop of this. Here I go. going to play the pickup note into the second phrase. So our opening was ba-dum da dee da dum da dee da dee da. Now we link. Here I go. Just that much. Great. So that little ending phrase, da da dee dee da, that's our little end of this whole first major phrase. I would say you could break it into measures if you're thinking about that structure in your mind. The first small phrase is 2 measures. The next small phrase is 2 measures. But it creates a larger 4-measure phrase, and that's really where it ends, and that's CBB. I'm going to play that whole major phrase a few more times around. Join in as you are ready. I'm going to play an E pickup note to bring us back to the top of the phrase. This E pickup note will occur going into the second 4-measure phrase as well, so it will not feel out of sorts to do it this way. All right, starting from the top. Join when you're ready. 1 and 2. Going into the next 4-measure phrase, we're going to use that E pickup that we used to wrap around back to the beginning. I'm going to play it for you now. This is a fun one. It begins the same as the top of the tune. Dee da dee dum da dee da dee dum. And now the difference happens. This part is so fun to get into. There's a little arpeggiation, C-E-A, to get into the ending phrase of the first part. I'm going to play it I'm going to play the whole, I'm going to do the whole thing. I'm going to play that whole line for you because the beginning is the same as the opening of the tune. And then we'll really get this ending phrase. I think this is going to be something we'll practice separately here in just a second, but I want you to hear it again as a whole with an E pickup note. 1, 2, 3. I'll do the same again. 1 and 3. The new phrase begins on C-E pickups. It's 4 and 1, going up to high A. I'll do that looped around a couple times. I'll try to count you in as we go around it a couple. Ready and go. there's a little trick I want you all to think about in this part. It'll help you with the second major part of the tune too. That this little pattern, our beginning note before the little back and forth, it starts with an F. Starts with an F. That might help you out. So C E A A A E F A E A F A E F C B B. Maybe I'm giving it away, but I listened to this in the Amazing Slowdowner a good number of times before I could really hear what was going on in that pattern. It just sounded like when you say the same word over and over again, like banana, 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 it really ceased to make any sense to me because of how quickly it was moving through this section of the tune. So I hope I'm not going too fast for you. Let me try that section out again. Listen carefully. When you feel the rise in the phrase coming, E, F, A is really what you're going to listen to. F, A on the strong beat. 1 and 2. Great, I hope that's sinking in. I'm going to play the pickup to the second 4-measure phrase of the first part. I'll link that back in, starting with an E pickup. E, C, A, C, E, A. Just to refresh your memory. Here we go. 1 and 3. Let's go back to the top of the first part. I'm going to run it through slowly a few times. I'm hoping that we will remember how the first line went. If not, sing along, hum along, and join in again when you're feeling more comfortable. Here we go from the top. 1 and 2. Awesome. I hope that's going great for you. I think Tim's doing better, right, Tim? So we're going to go into that second part now. This one, there is more repose. The only resting places we have in that first part rhythmically are when we have the syncopations. So when you're playing those, I would almost overemphasize that moment in time a little bit. It's as if you're just lingering ever so slightly longer on that held over E before going back down to the low A. I think that really emphasizes that really cool rhythmic feature, and it is like the moment of rest in this tune. The listener's ear gets a rest, you get a little bit of a rest, and it's great to linger on a little bit, to point it out, to make it even more obvious that it's something a little bit different than we're used to hearing. Not too many tunes have syncopation like this, where we're emphasizing the offbeat. I really love the feel of it. I also love the feel of this pentatonic mode. It's just really bright and really lovely. The tune's called Alone in the Castle. I almost feel like if Simon had an experience where he was alone in the castle, I think he was having a good time. All right, second part. It's a little moodier. It's a little more introspective. We're going to be lingering down here on this B. We got a little bit of crunch happening with that and a little dissonance against our drone. I'm playing with a little tenor A, alto E. I really like the higher drones on this. They're bright, vibrant. They're speaking to me right now, so those are the ones that I have on my pipes at the moment. A and E are great to use for tunes that are in an A-centric universe. If this were centered in D, you would notice that the E would sound terrible, so that's when you would want to bring in a D drone. You can always use two A drones. I know we've talked about this before. I probably will talk about it in the Zoom session on Saturday. That hasn't happened yet, but it has for you. Time is a funny thing. Second part. Stop me if I'm talking too much, right? Here we go. Ready, and with the E. Ready, here again. That's wrong. Three and four. So that's the first four-measure phrase of the second part. I like how we have din da and hold and da dun da and hold. So we go up by a step for that second phrase, but it's the same rhythmic movement. And then there's a lovely flowing moment in there after that where we're moving by step. I'm giving you lots of hints. It's moving by step and flowing in eighth notes until the end of the line. Let me play that first four-measure phrase for you again. We can break down into two phrases if we want in a moment. Here we go. 1 and 2. Good fun. So I'll do the first two measures a couple times around so you can hear that. Join in if you wish. And I'll do the second two measures a few times around following. Ready, here I go. I'll play that linking into the second two-measure phrase, and then I'll loop that part. Here from the first. We'll put that again together. The first four-measure phrase of the second part. 3 and 4. Pause there for a second. Okay, great. So now we're going to hit the final phrase. And this one's really lively and fun. It's reminiscent of the ending of the first part. But the secret trick here is that our little opening of the little high A exchange, you'll recognize it when you hear it, is different. So I'm going to lead into this again. We have an E pickup note. That is really a fantastic note you can use picking up into any part, any phrase of this tune is the E pickup. You can even do it at the beginning. I didn't write it that way in the sheet music, but that is an option. You can always use the E as a pickup or start on C directly. So we'll use that E here as a pickup for the final line. I'm going to play the final line around and then we'll break it into 2 chunks. 3 and 4. Finding ending there where we just rise up F A E F A for the ending. All right, let's do the first little section of that. E C B B C B E A E. It's really a little bit counterintuitive. It's like we have the notes of our arpeggio, but it starts on a B instead of a C or an A. Kind of cool. So don't be surprised when we leap from B to E here at the very beginning of this with the E pick up note. Here we go. 1 and 2. Ready and go. Very nice. So there are some repeated notes in this tune, and I think you get to be as creative as you wish about how you would like to articulate them or apply grace notes to delineate the 2 notes. I'm really enjoying little taps, lots of upper hand grace notes too. So like grace tap is really enjoyable to do in this, like that second measure there of that part we were just in. Da, sha, da. I think it's really nice. C, A, lots of low G taps. B, like maybe a G grace tap, sha, da, between the next 2 notes. Come up with whatever you wish. You could put a burl in. There are lots of different options. In this tune, I've kept things pretty simple as far as embellishments. And I'm even trying sometimes. You might notice I'm not being 100% consistent about what I'm using because I'm still also kind of in the creative process with this tune too. So I'm experimenting with adding lower hand grace notes, different places possibly to pause. Sometimes we have repeated notes. It's really fun, instead of articulating all of them, to hold them over. So I might, at the end of this video, play around with it a little bit and add in some of those places where I've been experimenting and developing my own arrangement of it. So as far as gracings go, feel free to use whatever kind of comes comfortably to you. And when you get the sheet music, or if you're looking at it now, I didn't put anything in, so I really want you to be the one to decide what suits your own style and really what you like best. So play around with it. Maybe try some things that you don't normally do. Feel free to throw in doublings. do whatever strikes your fancy and see if it really seems to suit the tune and suit yourself. All right. Let me do the second phrase and the second ending as well. So I'm going to make a little loop of this where I play the first ending and then the second ending of the tune. This is just the final two measures to close it out. This picks up into the final two measures similar to the first part does. We have E, C is our pickup note, and instead of, like in the first part, we go E, C, A, A, A. This is different. E, C, F, A, A. That's the part to remember. All right, here we go. 1 and 2. Sorry, my counting was a little funny there. It is a lovely challenge to teach to a camera and to really try to think about how it's going to work best with you playing along at home. So I sincerely hope this is working well for you. All right, let's do the second part together as a whole. I'm going to refresh your memory, just play around a couple times, a little bit more at speed, and then we'll slow it back down again and have you jump in yourself. All right, here's the second part, kind of moderate tempo, and we'll take it back a little slower and have you join when you wish. Here I go. Just a touch slower here and now. Very nice. Tim, you're doing great. I really would like to mention just one little musicality thing about the ending phrases of this tune. When we're going back and forth to that high A, that's kind of, it's such a strong note on our small pipes. And I find that I like to emphasize the preceding note. So giving a little bit of extra length, we're talking like almost imperceptible length, or feeling of length to the preceding note. Adi, adi, adi. It's like that way that we can give a little bit of contrast without having the ability to change dynamic. So this instrument, sort of like the harpsichord or the recorder, for example, we have to sort of bring in some of our musicality with note lengths. And that's something that I think is really fun to do in this tune. Like when we're doing it with the syncopation, holding it just a little bit. And here too, it's like you can create that a little bit of suspense and also encourage yourself not to rush. That is so easy to do in this kind of tune. When you're moving quickly up and back and forth to high A, I find that is a rush machine. Same thing with then going back down to the low hand, cascading. After that, it's really easy to sort of lose your laid back pulsing. So I like to put in little anchor moments in music sometimes to make sure that I'm expressing and also not getting ahead of myself. Humans don't do a great job keeping time, so anything we can do to kind of help ourselves out, I think is really helpful. So let me show you what I mean about that little part. And I'll over exaggerate it so you know exactly the spot, and then I'll kind of dial it back to where I'm thinking is tasteful. Like that. So this tune is great for playing around with some of those micro pulses or moments of repose, even if they're feelings like a moment of repose that you're really the only one that's going to pick up on it. If it keeps you from accidentally cascading forward in your tempo, do it, use it, elongate it, exaggerate it, and then try, just like what I did, kind of dialing it back to where you think, okay, now it's not like cartoonish, but you still get a little flavor, a little bit of that feeling of holding the note back. Or sometimes it's pushing it forward a little bit. It's the movement after the hold that's also really important. I find that is important too in the second part when we have those flowing eighth notes. Let me play that little section for you real quick to find little, what feels good in here? Beat 1 and beat 3 are important in 4/4, so maybe those are places that I remember to just have a tiny bit of lingering, or to put a grace note on. That's another great way to sort of delineate. Here, this spot is important. I have chosen to put a grace note upon it. So let me try that out here. Maybe I'm feeling it more than you're hearing it, but it does have an impact on how the notes really come out. Are you ready? Should we go back to the top of the tune? I want to try it round and round a few times. You're probably not going to remember the first part. How does it start? Can anybody sing it? Oh yeah. Oh yeah, you got it. Let's try it. Ready from the top. Sweet. I hope it's going so well for you. All right, let's try it one time around, kind of fast. So throw yourself in, even if you don't feel like you're ready. Grab as many notes as you can. And for those of you that have mastered this brilliantly, really start experimenting. Feel free to try some harmonies. I think it's a lovely place to add those, like harmonies and thirds sound really great in this against the arpeggiated notes. So try that out if you really like it. Pop into some of those places there and experiment. Let's try a little bit up to speed. And here we go. 1 and 2. Thank you so much for joining us this weekend. We really appreciate you and your presence and willingness to try out something like this virtual retreat, joining us online, when of course we would very much prefer to be in person. So please feel free, again, to reach out to me if you have any questions, and check out the music and recording of this to help you to learn it on your own. Let's play it together in a session sometime soon. Take care, and bye for now.